This is WCRN Weekend with your host, Pat Rice.
You are now tuned into another episode of WCRN Weekends with Pat Rice on AM 830. Welcome to the show. I hope everyone's been enjoying their weekend so far, staying dry to say the least. And if you're in a place with some sunshine, let's say like a tropical beach, I just need you to know this. I really dislike you right now. But as they say, after rain, there is usually always a rainbow. And sometimes, if you're lucky enough, after dancing through all that rain, there may be a pot of gold at the end of your rainbow. And one 55-year-old Methuen lady is trying to claim her pot of gold at the end of her rainbow, if she has a rainbow, or maybe she's hallucinating and sees a rainbow, because she wants to get her job back after being fired for smoking some marijuana after work. Hold up. She was smoking weed after work? What's the big deal? It's in the privacy of her own home, her own backyard. The neighbors really can't smell it unless she smoked a couple of doobies. But no, she's just using a vape pen. The smell, you can hardly notice it. It's great. It's the latest technology within the world of marijuana. And as we all know that the cannabis industry is booming right now, people are trying to become millionaires overnight by getting involved with the cannabis industry. So what's the big deal about cannabis? What's the big deal about marijuana? You know, I thought shops were supposed to open this summer. I don't think I've seen one shop open. You know, I thought we were going to be able to buy marijuana without having a medical card, but I guess that isn't the case within the Commonwealth. Hey, I mean, it's all right for you to go home and crack open a few beers and guzzle down a six-pack, and you're in bed by 8 o'clock, you're able to wake up the next morning and be okay. Might not need to stop for an Egg McMuffin just to soak up some of that leftover booze, but there's no problem with drinking alcohol. Sometimes they even drink it in the office. I've been in environments where I've seen some top guys slugging back some beers. How come at work functions we can't put down the booze and smoke a couple of doobies, pass a joint around with the boss and the salespeople, you know, really get to know each other, man? I swear this stuff doesn't give lung cancer. It actually kills cancer. It's the exact opposite. Well, before I go on a complete train wreck right now and go off topic, I just want to say, inhaling any kind of smoke into your body, I don't care what it is not good for you either way. Though I would say marijuana is not even close to being as bad as cigarettes. Cigarettes have a lot of toxins and other additives and chemicals put into them, and we all know about that. But what about marijuana? I mean, where are we really getting our marijuana from? I don't care if it's from a major company or a major weed farm where people professionally grow it and cure it and all that other bull crap. Are they still putting in additives? I mean, I'm sure there's gotta be some kind of bugs and creatures that try to get at the marijuana plants when they're growing and blooming. And back in the day, in the black market, back in the 70s, I mean, God knows, with the outdoor fields, if helicopters are coming by and spraying chemicals because they're trying to put pesticides on the vegetables, or, I mean, you really don't know. I mean, what do these plants really go through? But anyway, so there's this 55-year-old Methuen lady who worked for Sodexo as a food service supervisor. And for some reason, she was completely surprised. She was mind blown that she got fired for failing a drug test. Obviously, someone here doesn't know the guidelines. Whenever you have a drug test, it doesn't matter if you have alcohol, marijuana, whatever in your system, you have to pass the test. So if you have that crap in your system, you're obviously going to fail it. It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get all the drugs out of my system. Can I please have a second chance? Pretty please? With a little smile on the face and shining pearly whites. It doesn't look good to the employer. Oh, well, my employee had marijuana or alcohol or cocaine in their system or whatever, some kind of substance in their system. What's going through the employer's mind now is, I don't care if they do it after work, but are they doing it before they come into work? Are they doing it on lunch break? I can't tell how long it's been in their blood system. Neither can the people who are conducting the drug tests, from what I know of at least. Maybe they might have more information at the lab, but it's pass or fail. It's not like back in school when you get a failing grade on a test and you go crying to the teacher. Can I please redo this test? I know 60 is not a passing grade. Well, teachers care about their students' future and education, so they're like, yes, of course, Jimmy, you can redo the tests because they want you to pass. When it comes to a drug test, it's all about the individual and the type of lifestyle that they want to lead. And if they really care for their job, they will try to do whatever they can to pass that drug test. So the story goes, this 55-year-old Methuen lady was a Sodexo food contractor at the Holy Family Hospital until she had a little spill at work and fell. She claims that it was just a small little stumble. But after a week, she couldn't recover from it. So she had this light bulb pop up over her head and decided to go to her boss and say, "Boss, I took a stumble, a couple of weeks ago, and I just haven't recovered from it." She was better off going to the doctors and figuring out what was wrong. Your boss isn't a doctor, ma'am. I'm sorry. You might be a really nice lady, someone that to smoke a bone with or something and have the munchies with, go out on an ice cream date with. But why would you go to your boss about this? Because after that, when the boss hears, oh, one of my employees got hurt on the job, and hurt in quotations because a little fall, a little bruise, a twisted ankle, or pinky, I don't go to your boss to that about. Try to keep it on the D-low. Do some home remedies, maybe get a little sling at CVS. If need be, make an appointment with your doctors. Because once you tell your boss, it is a policy for your boss to go into investigation and have you take a required drug test. The reason why is because they want to know how you got hurt. Why did you get hurt? Were you under the influence when you got hurt? Because when an employee gets hurt on the premises of a job, it's completely on the company and the business if the employee gets hurt and it's because of the company's fault, whether it was a mechanical error or anything could happen. But if the person's on drugs that gets hurt, well, that's on the individual themselves because they were under the influence. Now, this protects companies from future lawsuits, being sued. The individual was under the influence of drugs, so it wasn't the company's fault, it was the individual's fault. But right now, we are in a confusing state with the laws of marijuana. It's like, can the people, and supposedly the people in power or the government, can they just get this crap together? Can we get this over with? I say, how about we make marijuana sort of like alcohol? 21 and up. Put it in a store. Same exact thing. But hold up. That whole argument about weed and alcohol is pointless because even if you have alcohol in your system during a drug test, you're going to fail it. So either way, even though alcohol is legal and marijuana is supposedly legal, it still doesn't matter when it comes to the drug tests. But there are protections in place for medical marijuana users. So what makes the difference here is if you have a medical card. If you truly use marijuana for medical purposes, then you are excused. So maybe this 55-year-old Methuen lady should have thought of that beforehand and had a medical card just to protect herself from situations like this. Okay, so now this 55-year-old Methuen lady is going down to Beacon Hill. She's going to get lawmakers involved. Marijuana's legal. Marijuana's legal. Just marching down the street with picket fence and signs or whatever. And it was stated that she told reporters or whatever, it was in the newspaper, that she would work for Sodexo again if they can figure this whole situation out. I find that hysterical. Why would you want to work with an employer that you brought to court? Wouldn't that be like a weird relationship? That's almost like getting back with your ex, and now your boss and employer thinks you're some crazy, smoking, Cheech and Chong, hippie weed lover. Your reputation and name is basically ruined with Sodexo. I don't know how and why you'd even go back to someone that fired you. Maybe you should look into a job within the marijuana industry. Yeah, it seems like you know a lot of stuff about it, but it doesn't really seem like you do when it comes to the laws, though the laws are confusing when it comes to marijuana. I think one of the biggest dilemmas here is truly being able to test when was the last time someone smoked weed, because for whatever reason, THC loves to stay in your body. It's like your body is the perfect host for the substance of cannabis. THC loves to stick to fat. So if you have a couple of pounds on you, marijuana is just going to store in all that munchy fat, baby. But if you're thin with washboard abs, you can possibly run and pee out THC within a week. Now, that makes it kind of unfair for the guy who has a couple of pounds on him and he can't flush the THC out of his system. It's interesting though, why does the chemicals within marijuana and THC attract to fat? It makes sense though, because if you were to make edibles, you need to have a certain type of butter, like canna butter. That's why people make the brownies, the cookies, fattening foods. I mean, it works like a beauty with marijuana. What we really need is accurate testing, because let's say someone hasn't smoked a joint for a month. Okay, I'm gonna give you two different kind of scenarios. All right, let's say you get pulled over and the car smells like marijuana. You don't have any marijuana in the car or nothing. The cop pulled you over because you had your left blinker out or something. He smells the marijuana. He thinks that you're under the influence because you didn't realize that you had a blinker that was out or whatever. You know, just a simple traffic stop. But the cop is accusing you of being high. How can he tell? When was the last time you smoked weed? By smelling your breath, your clothes? I mean, I really don't know. Maybe the guy's eyes are always glassy because he works around the clock, 9 to 5, 7 days a week. He's a truck driver. He's always on the road. He's tired. That's when peeing in a cup or on a stick doesn't do much help, because it doesn't tell you when was the last time that this person smoked weed. It just says that it has it in their system. And sometimes people can have the THC in their system for over a year and they didn't even smoke since the year before. Now, does that still qualify in failing a drug test? So we need a better way to determine when marijuana was smoked or ingested into the body. But that just complicates things. Then you're going to have people who failed drug tests because of other drugs and say, well, man, I didn't shoot dope for like a week. I wasn't on drugs. I'm telling you, the guy who figures this out, that creates the breathalyzer for the last time you smoked weed, will become an instant billionaire. The whole law enforcement around the country will use this tool, and it will even change drug tests possibly. If anything, I think this whole argument that this woman has with her company Sodexo is stupid. It should be thrown out completely. You failed a drug test. That's it. There's nothing else to it. If you knew that you were going to have something in your system, you should have tried your best to get it low enough in your system that it wouldn't show up on the drug test. But maybe this situation will make lawmakers be a little bit more clear and not in the gray about the rules, regulations, and laws about marijuana. I feel like we are all in the dark about it, because you got the potheads saying one thing about the laws, then you got the lawmakers saying another thing, and then you got some guy who doesn't know jack saying a little bit of both. The conversations about marijuana not being harmful for you have been going on for generations. Marijuana is a natural plant. I mean, if you grow it from the ground up with, marijuana seeds, with water and sunlight, with no additives or anything else, then yes, it is very well natural and it comes from the earth. Do I think marijuana has healing benefits? Yes, I do. I think it can help with nausea. I think it can help with sore muscles and pain. It can make you forget about it, or at least feel numb to it, for a better lack of words. And I guess there's studies and proof that marijuana, or THC, or the cannabinoids within marijuana, I don't know exactly, can help put a stall to the growth of cancer or even kill cancer cells. Which reminds me about my buddy's father. I don't want to get too much into details. It's a sad situation. My buddy's father, not too long ago, sadly passed away from, I believe it was liver cancer. You know, he did enjoy having a few drinks. You know, he was a very great guy, nice guy, fun guy. You know, my buddy's a great guy too. I haven't seen him too recently, but I'm sure we'll meet up and we'll have a few drinks. But anyways, his dad, he's going through therapy to help fight off the cancer. I don't think he got chemotherapy, but instead he went with the medicinal marijuana route, which I don't think he smoked the marijuana. He had to take this type of marijuana cannabinoid pill thing. And believe it or not, the scans, x-rays, and the results showed that the cancer, the tumor on his liver, literally shrunk from a basketball to a baseball. Absence of alcohol, taking the medicinal marijuana medicine, and the tumor shrank. It was unbelievable. My buddy sent the photo to the group chat on Facebook, and you have to see it for yourself. It was unreal. I was like, wow. So just imagine if you knew that maybe your lifestyle habits might have lead to a bad conclusion later in life, and you cut back on a few things. I mean, that's like cutting back on bad food. Maybe you can dodge diabetes, but you're about to be diabetic, but since you made a quick change to your lifestyle, no longer is that the case. Same thing, like maybe you're drinking a lot of alcohol and some kind of cancerous tumor is forming on your liver, but now you take alcohol out of your lifestyle, out of your diet, and it does the exact reverse. The body's incredible like that. It really is. You can put your body through so much, and then you add some medicinal marijuana to the picture, and it might even help the process along even more. But I think there has to be a lot more studies done to really see the true effects of marijuana in the world of medicine. Now, let's go over a little history about the magical green plant. Marijuana didn't just magically pop up out of nowhere back in the 1960s and 70s when all the hippies were smoking it, along with Charles Manson prancing around gathering people for his crazy cult. Marijuana has been around before any of us. Pot goes all the way back to the times of BC. And if you really want to be exact, 2737 BC. And you're never gonna guess where. Not Mexico, not South America, don't confuse that with the cocoa, all the way back in China. Emperor Shanung wrote about it, and what we found out in his writings is a lot like what people are saying nowadays about marijuana. He used it for medication. He claimed that you could use marijuana for gout, malaria, and guess this one, absent-mindedness. Now some might be thinking to themselves, doesn't marijuana cause absent-minded people? That's a good question, and I agree and disagree. But do I think smoking weed isn't harmful? No. I think if you smoke anything, it's harmful to your lungs. Bringing any kind of toxins or carbon monoxide is bad for you. Butane from the lighter, not good for you at all. And now they have these concentrates which go by street names such as shatter, dabs, or oil, wax, that supposedly butane is one of the ingredients in this new form of THC marijuana, which is some of these forms of marijuana, such as the wax, the oil, is used for these marijuana smoking pens. And now these concentrates of marijuana come in like this sticky, gooey, liquid kind of form that's semi-solid, but once you heat it up, it really melts and makes it into some kind of smoke or vapor. And I can't even imagine what that stuff's like going into your lungs. I mean, it's really sticky and gooey. I can just picture that crap sticking to the inside of your lungs, just dripping down slowly, and it probably stays in your lungs forever. I mean, would you want that stuff in your lungs? Even though it might get you a nice little high, is it really worth it? This stuff is still relatively new, these new concentrates of marijuana and ways to smoke it as well, using these vape pens, these dab pens, another slang term for you out there. We might see 20 years down the road that these stronger concentrates of marijuana and different ways to smoke it aren't necessarily good for you. A good way to ingest marijuana that I believe in is edibles. I mean, who doesn't love brownies and cookies? Maybe you can make them sugar-free, but you do need to have some fattening butter in there to make the concoction work. That way, you still get the nice body high, head high, without smoking. You are literally eating regular food, regular treats and snacks with the plant in it, with a natural marijuana plant. To me, that's the most healthiest option and way to ingest marijuana and still get the enjoyment out of the plant. But those who abuse marijuana on a daily basis, it definitely becomes a mental addiction. Like, you need to smoke. You need to get that high. You need to feel that certain way on cloud nine. Smoking too much marijuana does make people lazy. It's not a stereotype.
I need to do my homework. Screw it, it's alright. I can miss one assignment. Couple months later, I got this big project I really need to work on, but I'm gonna go smoke with Joe. I'll do it tonight, I know I will. Falls asleep on the couch. I was supposed to do my project. It's due today. I'm so frustrated and I'm so tense, I'm overwhelmed, I need to smoke a joint. Marijuana becomes their life. Some people get so obsessed with marijuana that you can look at their social media profiles and they're posting on platforms like Instagram, them smoking a blunt every single day, let alone it makes you hungry too. And so these people are gaining the extra freshman pounds. Wait, I thought it was the freshman 15. You come home to mommy and daddy, ho, Joe, you gained like 30 pounds. Oh geez, maybe I shouldn't always be smoking all the time. I got the munchies. And the worst of the worst is people who constantly abuse smoking marijuana, it seems like their cognitive ability slows down. You begin to forget things more often. Another con of marijuana is when you abuse it, you begin to withdraw from society. You struggle with relationships. You struggle with careers and jobs. You can't look at your boss in the eyes. You get paranoid. You begin to have crazy thoughts. Psychologically, you're running in circles over and over. And if you aren't 18, or let's say even better, 21 yet, marijuana can really affect the developing brain for the rest of your life. On how you think, learn, can bring out underlying mental illness that you would have never had if you didn't abuse marijuana. You might have it somewhere in your DNA. It can cause psychosis, schizophrenia.
And another thing I can't stand with some people when they smoke too much marijuana is that all of a sudden they think that they can rap. All of a sudden they're talking like some guy from the hood. Like they're gonna shoot you up and smack you up like a pimp. I just don't know where it comes from. I think that's with the correlation with rap music and the use of weed. I think, though, it's also the stigma and the stereotypes of weed that can create that kind of persona for young youth and juveniles that usually come from a good household, but they get introduced to marijuana and now they think that they're a badass. We've all seen it happen before. That guy who goes to college, he smokes weed for his first time, then now he's sagging his pants, he's hanging out with these shady brothers who think they're big-time dealers, it's quite silly. And it's because for years and years, many people against marijuana, a lot of the propaganda, mentions and use of marijuana within rap and hip-hop and pop culture has kind of created that avenue or opportunity for a misled individual to act that way. So, smoking weed doesn't make you a gangster, a hip-hop star, or a thug, or a badass. It just makes you a pothead. You've been listening to another episode of WCRN Weekends with forget what's his name, with Pat Rice on AM 830.
This has been WCRN Weekend and your host, Pat Rice.